Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we've got a bit of a news roundup for you. We'll be covering the new Winter Widowmaker skin, new legislation passed in Korea that means for-profit boosters could face massive fines and even jail time, and some of the key changes to the Overwatch League's second season that starts in February. There's quite a lot to get through, so let's just crack on. Okay, so first up, let's talk about this new biathlon Widow skin. It was rumoured that Widow would be getting the figure skater skin hinted at by a leak previously, but as that's not happened and Lucio already has his Winter Fox or Sonic the Hedgehog skin as I call it, that means the figure skater is someone else. All bets are off. I hope it's McCree. I think he'd look fabulous in a campy sequin shirt like Will Ferrell from Blades of Steel or something. But enough of that, what do I think about Widow's skin? I do like it. I like how the colour scheme seems appropriate for her, and the winter sports gear is a nice touch. I really love the ski goggles in place of her visor. I think that's great, but if I'm honest, Mercy's skin from yesterday still rules supreme. Winter holiday skins centered around myth and legend will always appeal to me more than effectively Winter Olympic sports ones. Summer Games already does the sport thing pretty well. We don't need two events covering that base, but I digress. I do like it, but it's not my favourite. What do you guys think? Is this one on the money or a bit too pedestrian for you? Oh, and let me know who you think the figure skater will actually be. I'll fave the best answers. Our next story is that it's been reported to Reddit through the user evenstar6132 that players caught for-profit boosting in Korea will face severe penalties in the near future. A bill has been passed in Korean Parliament that will mean offending players will face up to 2 years in jail or a 20 million Korean won fine. If you want to know how much that is in your currency, it roughly equates to 18,000 US dollars. Now, it has been noted in the thread that in the Korean justice system, first-time offenders for this kind of crime aren't given the full sentence straight away, usually having it put on probation and then nullified if they stay out of further trouble. However, that doesn't apply to fines. Now, boosting is certainly frowned upon in other regions too, but if you've never quite understood how seriously the Korean region takes this kind of thing, this should open up your eyes. This is why some players who joined the Overwatch League, like OGE, had to serve bans when they first got there, and why their reputations among other Korean pros was so bad. Fisher, for example, has made it very plain how strongly he feels publicly, questioning why players who either have boosted for profit or highly suspected of doing it were even allowed to join in the first place. When a government steps in to legislate, it really makes you think twice about Blizzard's softly approach to dealing with some of the negative aspects of the community involvement with their game. I have to say, on a personal level, this makes me feel a bit bad for tack inserting some of my headshots for camos in Modern Warfare 2 back in the day. Oh, don't look at me like that, everybody did it. I've always struggled to view boosting in quite the same light as, say, outright cheating with an aimbot or wall hacks, but having been very fortunate to go to Korea for an Overwatch event and played in PC bangs even just a little bit, I can kinda understand why it's taken so seriously. There's just so much more focus on trying to be the best that you can. The Korean ladder is very different. Players try to win matches in a much more hardcore way as a matter of course, and anything that interrupts that competitive experience, like someone being in your match who's not actually GM, who's paid to be boosted there and obviously can't hang, ruins the game for their teammates. To be fair though, I can't help but feel that having a government police player behaviour in a piece of entertainment feels like a bit of an overreach, at least to my Western sensibilities. I play with Liam and FREEDO all the time. They're way better than me. Does that mean they're technically boosting me? I'm not paying them. Why do I suddenly feel so guilty? Stop looking at me that way. I feel paranoid now. Running an actual business for money though is somewhat different. I guess because of this new law that might technically be organised crime? Well, the people that do that sort of thing had better get their house in order and stop pretty sharpish. The new law takes effect in roughly 6 months' time. Let me know how you guys feel about this. Are you a Korean viewer and feel that these kind of measures are justified? Are you a Western player who somewhat struggles to understand what all the fuss is about? It's not like ranked doesn't have its own problems anyway, depending on your region. Can I get a petition started to have 5 DPS comps punishable by law? Actually, scratch that. I'd never get a game if that became a reality. The next story that we're going to talk about today is some of the key changes to the Overwatch League coming in Season 2. The recent Watchpoint livestream had some juicy bits of info I'd like to go through, as some of what was talked about had longer reaching consequences than just as they pertain to the league. First up, the schedule is going to be wider with more frequent breaks, and the ones that are going to be longer themselves. Each team will play 28 matches in the regular season season instead of 40, which I think is a really good thing. Player burnout was a definite problem in the first season, with some fairly high-profile cases like Dallas Fuel's Effect being one of them. Now, he might have had other problems at the same time, but Seagull, after he left the league, spoke about burnout, as did Custer when we interviewed him at the Grand Finals event. I'm glad to see the pressure on the players won't be the same the second time around. You have to remember how young a lot of these pros are, and their welfare has to be taken very seriously. The stage playoffs have also been reworked, as have the actual playoffs at the end of the season, which include a very interesting change in how the last 2 spots are filled. In total, 8 teams qualify, the top 6 get automatic places, and the last 2 are filled by teams making their way through a smaller tournament consisting of teams placed from 7th through to 12th. This was done so that teams who had weaker early season records but that improved later on, like last year's Dallas Fuel, would have a legit chance of competing for the biggest prize. I really like that because firstly, form can fluctuate, but more importantly, metas can shift dramatically, seriously altering a team's chances. Briggs' addition into Stage 4 made the Fuel look much better, while at the same time made the previously invincible NYXL look vulnerable. There's good news for EU fans of the league as well, as the Sunday matches in particular will start at a much more EU-friendly time of 12 noon, or 8 PM GMT in the UK. Some of the matches won't be time appropriate, but there's not a whole lot they can do about that. It's nice that they've tried where they can though. The All-Star game will happen after Stage 2 instead of at the end of the season, which makes a lot more sense to me. The NBA has an All-Star weekend in the middle of the season, and I think that kind of event functions much better in that format. It helps build hype for big name players and key matchups facing off against each other in the later playoff stage. Now, in a stroke of genius, there will actually be some road games at home team arenas in their respective cities this year. These are yet to be confirmed and will likely be dependent on which teams have developed the infrastructure to host these events. My money is on some of the East Coast teams like Boston and New York, maybe even specifically between those 2 teams, as it's already a big sports rivalry and the travel requirements would be lessened if the teams could go there and stay for home and away series. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I do think a London home series would be great for the league too. When the London Championship team did make it to the UK in the summer, their reception was very good, and it offers EU fans a chance to see the Overwatch League teams up close. With Paris having a team as well, this matchup seems like a slam dunk for a possible road game, as both sets of fans could enjoy the English-French rivalry, which if you're from NA and don't know about it, it's quite a big thing. Now, all the unknown elements of this and the schedule in general will be detailed on December the 12th, so that's 4 days away, not long to wait. But perhaps the biggest thing from the entire Watchpoint show was the revelation that Blizzard are going to try and keep the pro game and the live patches more in sync this year. They're going to do this by attempting to patch in between stages, as the gaps will be longer, as I mentioned, and personally I think the league really needs this. It was kind of a drag to watch pro games happen on patches that were sometimes 1 or 2 behind what we were all playing. The downside to this though is that Blizzard might hold on to changes for the general populace longer in an effort to make things line up. We've been waiting for the Briggs Shield Bash change for ages now. Imagine in the middle of the Overwatch League season having to wait even longer. I don't want to have to wait to Season 3 of the Overwatch League to get some much needed game balance changes on the go. That's a joke, but seriously, this is Blizzard. They do like to keep us waiting sometimes in the quest for perfection. I have the slight inclination that this won't necessarily go down all that well with fans who don't watch the esport. They might ask, why am I waiting for patches because the thing I don't care about takes priority? It is a difficult situation for Blizzard because there's no perfect solution. You don't want to watch pros play something you've already passed as a player, but adding more potential wait time for changes is also undesirable for most people. You guys will have to let me know what you think about this and the rest of the stories in the comment section down below. I really look forward to reading your input. And that's about it for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in great company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.